All right, welcome to Cwic Show. My name is Greg Mattson, and I am your host. In this episode, we have asked John Hewlett back onto the show. John is the founder and owner of Cardio Miracle. This is a product, by the way, that is something that I use every day. Many of you heard me talk about this in terms of my own ailments and things that I have really drastically improved. Some of these things have drastically improved for me by taking the product every single day. I took it for 90 days before I ever brought Cardio Miracle on as a sponsor. John, welcome to the program.
Greg, it's great to be with you, and I appreciate all the good work you're doing. You're taking a lot of bullets on the Lord's errand, and I appreciate that. And maybe not too many bullets, but I'm glad that people are responding to the great, you're essentially like a modern day investigative reporter that's helping to report things that are going on that many of us would not be aware of if it wasn't for your good work. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's the number one objective here, is to try and bring out awareness on these issues, especially within the church. Now, we're going to talk Cardio Miracle, but we're already also going to talk a few political issues. But I want to start off with the immune support that Cardio Miracle provides. What do we have as far as testing, lab reports, et cetera, in talking about the immune support for our bodies?
Well, Greg, one of the things that's very, very important that we're, as you know, that politically, and I'll take the blame for anything I say, and you may not necessarily totally agree with everything I say, but the last 3 years have been a joke. We have seen our world shut down. We've seen our lives shut down. We've seen hospitals, hospital care. We've had protocols that were untested, unproven. In these types of things, and people have suffered mightily. And one of the big issues that really is now existing, in addition to the fact that it's coming out that people never should have been put on ventilators, people never should have been masked, they shouldn't have been kept away from their families when they went into a hospital, all of those things. Fear and stress is the biggest culprit to damaging our God-given innate immune system. And our immune system is our lifeline. It's our lifeline. It's our life preserver. It's our life. And so one of the things that's really important is that when we're under a fearful, stressful, arbitrary, capricious world that we now live in, where everywhere we turn, we're finding people are changing their story. They're changing the history. They're trying to rewrite history. We have wokeness. We have people taking away our freedom, our history, blaming us, our ancestors, for what's going on in the world today. And who would have thought we would see this transgender movement 2 years ago? This is like crazy things going on around us. And I'm not against people who are trying to figure out their sexuality. I've known people my whole life. I had a missionary companion who was definitely gender confused, and I've stayed in touch with him through the years, through his battling of AIDS, et cetera. So I'm not against, I love people, but my goodness, this war of good and evil is a big deal. And I believe that one of the adversary's targets is our immune system. And so by being in the midst of radiation, too much electromagnetic things going on, our water is contaminated, our air is polluted, our food has too many GMOs, the glyphosate has affected our crops. Our immune system needs to be at its highest level. And the body's greatest strength for the immune system is nitric oxide, along with bioavailable vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 and nitric oxide together are really, really important. And in our published scientific paper last August in Frontiers of Nutrition, one of the top scientific journals, nutritional scientific journals in the world, they said that our ingredients, our 53 ingredients in Cardio Miracle, were absolutely essential in making vitamin D bioavailable, more absorbable, and helping to strengthen the immune system, to help strengthen the TGF beta cells for the pancreas, and those things are impacted in kidney disease and those types of things. That these ingredients were really essential in helping to do that. And My personal experience for now 16 and a half years has been that Cardio Miracle and nitric oxide, specifically with extended nitric oxide, the vitamin D3 is more absorbable and that people will avoid sickness. I know that, often people, I think when I was on your show, last year, sometimes somebody said, well, who wants to listen to an overweight guy who lives in a cabin? Well, the reality is this. I haven't been sick a day since I've been on nitric oxide in 16 years. So that's saying something. And over the last couple of years, I avoided all of the different suggestions. All I did is take Cardio Miracle, and when I was feeling a little bit sniffly or a little bit of a sore throat, which happened twice for less than 48 hours, I just doubled down, and then I took a little extra vitamin C, magnesium, and zinc, knocked it out. Never a problem. So I'm a huge advocate of strengthening your immune system, because guess what, folks? Whether you believe it or like it or not, this last couple of years was no accident. It's proven that it was a planned, intense situation. People say, well, it was an accident. No, it was no accident. But I'm just telling you, we're going to see something else again. This is part of a plan to help take away the agency of mankind and to take away the freedom on the basis of the family and also the basis of the United States of America as the place that God foreordained for to be standing and to be around for the second coming of the Savior. I tell it what I believe, and I think the immune support is critical. So you can't have pure everything in your food. You can't make sure that all your organic stuff is organic. We have so many uncertainties. But when we have highly tested ingredients at the highest level that we know are immune support, I just think that that's a big, big deal that people, not just for blood pressure and heart disease and preventing stroke and all of the things that we can talk about, but the immune system to me is ultimate, because that'll help fight off most of the major problems we could be dealing with.
Yeah, and if I were to be a little bit more specific in my own situation, because people know me on this program, obviously, right? I have chronic acute gout. I have cardiovascular disease. I have kidney disease, and I have high blood pressure, right? And so I can tell you right now that with all these ailments, and there are a few others, I have been able to reduce my medication in half since I've been on Cardio Miracle with the nitric oxide and the D3 delivery on it. And so this has been a big, big blessing for me and what it's done. And this is the thing about this is it is scientifically proven. This is not just something like you said, something that's going to be put up on Facebook. And it's like, where in the world is this coming from? What are the claims behind it? The claims behind this are scientific. I just want to read quickly here. This is from the Malinsky study. I love this study and what it brings up and the contrast between even regular nitric oxide and actually the Cardio Miracle product, and how much more improved the Cardio Miracle product is. But just a couple things here. It says a deficiency in bioavailable nitric oxide concentration is associated with a dysfunction of endothelial. I know there's some different words
technical
here,
stuff.
Yeah, bear with me here for a minute. Endothelial nitric oxide synthase and or an increase in oxidative stress. The deficiency of bioavailable nitric oxide is a common denominator of several cardiovascular diseases, including diabetes, atherosclerosis, and hypertension. And so, right, this is a scientific paper. It makes a difference. It really does make a difference.
See, that was the first scientific paper. I was just quoting from the second one that was a totally different group of people. But Tadeusz Malinsky is the expert in the world on measuring nitric oxide and vitamin D3. And when I retained the University of Ohio to test this product, I wanted to know if it worked. I had come from a very fine company with Nature Sunshine that had a great nitric oxide product that helped reverse my health. And so when I decided that I wanted to take it to the next level and I wanted to have something that was the best of the best that could be scientifically validated, I went to the top expert in the world like an idiot and ended up spending money I didn't have, investing money. And he says, well, what if it doesn't work? And I said, that's why I'm here. I want to know. And he called me 60 days later and he said, this is remarkable. I have never seen nitric oxide extended past 4 hours with arginine and citrulline, maybe 5 or 6. He says, your nitric oxide expression with these ingredients you've put together is over 24 to 36 hours. He says, it's unbelievable. Now, I'll tell you something interesting, Greg, because first of all, folks, there aren't 100 people who have probably read the Malinsky study as detailed as Greg Mattson. That is a true credit, because I'm telling you, it is highly, highly technical. But the smartest people in health in America that I'm now talking to, they read the Malinsky study and it blows their mind, because they've never heard of a supplement with this type of scientific validation. And then we throw in the next one, which is the Frontiers in Nutrition on both diabetes and atherosclerosis and kidney disease. And they say, this is incredible. I said, well, guess what? We're not stopping. Next month, we are printing the premier founding article in a periodical called Combat Stress, which is the number one magazine in the world for post-traumatic stress disorder. Primarily veterans, traumatic head injuries, car accidents, those types of things. But guess what, Greg? This is the first place I've talked about this. It's going to be published this next month, and it's going to knock the socks off the psychiatric and psychology world, because guess what the determination has been? The entire world is suffering now from PTSD because of the last 3 years of the craziness that we've lived under. And so when you have a reaction, when you see somebody, who's standing in the grocery store, who's 21 years old, who's still wearing a mask, and you want to go over to him and say, what in the heck are you thinking, brother? They've now proven, even the old fakie himself has said that, well, maybe 10%. It might have maybe only helped 10%. But we had people almost getting into fist fights in sacrament meetings because they weren't wearing 3 masks. I mean, it was almost ridiculous of what has happened. But we all are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder to certain degrees because of the fear-mongering, the propaganda, and the overreach of the government, and turning family against family, brother against brother, congregation against congregation, bishops against counselors. I mean, we've seen it all. And they're now saying, guess what? The problem is the basis psychologically and physiologically of post-traumatic stress disorder: arginine deficiency. Arginine amino acid deficiency is at the basis of all of these things. And there's 4 years ago when Malinsky came out with exactly that, talking about nitric oxide, but now the dots are coming back to that it's arginine. So all of the people out there saying, oh, beets are better than arginine and all that kind of stuff, that is scientifically not true. It's an arginine deficiency that is at the basis of most chronic illness and the immune system's ability to function.
Now, John, L-arginine is one of the top products in Cardio Miracle, correct?
Ingredients, yes.
Yeah.
We have three types of L-arginine, and yet L-arginine, like anything, if you get too much of it, it can create the free radical peroxynitrite that you have read about in the Malinsky study, where in our research with him, he said he was stunned that we created nitric oxide for 36 hours, and even more stunned that we reduced the free radical by over 50%. He had never seen that anywhere. He said that was the most shocking part of the entire study. So as you increase your nitric, that's why people just can't go to GNC or to Swanson's or to some other place and take handfuls of arginine, because without buffering antioxidants, grapeseed extract, fruits and vegetables, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to help buffer that and to help keep the free radicals under control, then the nitric oxide spike can get out of control where it needs to be modulated. And that's why we have 3 types of arginine, which virtually no one else has. We have more citrulline, which helps resynthesize into arginine. And then we have ornithine, carnitine, and other supporting ingredients like astragalus root and Panax ginseng and hawthorn that also help the nitric oxide. So this is a very, very complex supplement that for most people can can eliminate not only prescriptions, as you have seen. I haven't been on a prescription drug on a daily basis, Greg, for 16 and a half years. Now, I just turned 71. Everyone in my family died before they were 66 that were a male in my generational hierarchy, including uncles, because of heart disease. So I have a rampant family history. And obviously, I'm a little short for my weight. It's one of those things. And so because of that, I was chronically ill. And that's what led me on this journey. I didn't grow up thinking I wanted to be, Jack LaLanne or, the wheatgrass guru or whatever. I was a normal guy who was dying of heart disease. And like yourself, you had chronic problems. I had them. I didn't have the surgery. I didn't have to go onto diabetic medication. I had gout. I suffered mightily from gout. And now I can fight gout off 90% of the time if I just don't go crazy eating too much crab, lobster, and shrimp with gravy and pastries all at the same time. Topped off with asparagus and cauliflower, all the things. I know.
I know what you're talking about. You're speaking my language right now, John. Trust me.
So I know the gout deal, but I'm telling you, one of the great blessings in life is if you have a gout attack, you'd better get some pain relief fairly quickly, or else hopefully you have a small revolver nearby because you're about ready to kill yourself. It is that intense.
It is intense. You bring up also something here about long-haul COVID benefits. I don't know if that's something you were already speaking of, but what do you mean by long-haul COVID benefits from Cardio Miracle?
Well, one of the things that's happened over the last couple of years is there was something out there. You can't really call it a virus because it really wasn't. It was a bioweapon, in my opinion. It was exposed on the world. It was funded illegally. It was funded under the auspices of Defense Department. And if people really want to turn over the rocks, that's the reason why there's a problem in Ukraine. That's why there was a problem in Wuhan, China. There are all these biological labs that are developing weapons for governments of the world to fight and annihilate each other. And so there was something released on humanity. People got sick. Of course they got sick. But it really, in most cases, was a serious case of a flu-like type of symptomology. It was the protocols, putting them in the hospital, putting them on remdesivir, then putting them on a ventilator that killed people. It wasn't the virus most of the time, but their oxygen was going down. Well, when your oxygen is decreasing, all of a sudden you throw somebody on a ventilator, you're going to, most of the time, probably blow up part of their lungs and their pulmonary capillaries. So there was all kinds of confusion out there where people who were treated with simple things like hydrochloroquine and ivermectin and magnesium and zinc and nitric oxide and things like that, arginine. There are studies, folks. I'm not just making this up. I'm not a conspiracy person. This is fact. Studies, Israel, Italy, Brazil, where they gave people arginine and they went from reduced oxygen and pulmonary inflammation to getting released from the hospital. That happened. That's a historical fact. And so, but people who went into protocol, and I had friends that were in the hospital whose oxygen dropped down in the 70s, and many of them we were able to get them out with nitric oxide supplementation. But some people suffered some lung damage. Some people suffered some inflammation. We hear myocarditis over and over again. We have a lot of people have had that for various things, and I won't get into all the details of my belief on that, but in reality is nitric oxide is the healing agent. It heals the cells. It helps replicate the cells in a healthy manner. It helps strengthen the T cells, which help fight against the cancers. And it helps the TGF-beta, which helps the pancreas and the kidneys. So most people who were affected by this, whatever pathogen, suffered with their breathing first and foremost, and then had an inflamed situation in the microcapillaries and those little oxygen sacs in their lungs. They became inflamed. Well, the solution wasn't the prescription with an R that had not been adequately tested for Ebola and had killed people, but that's what they gave people. I don't know why. I do know why. Can't say really why. And then they turned around after their kidneys started shutting down, and their lungs started shutting down, and they put them on a ventilator, and 97% of the people died. They died from the treatment, not necessarily from whatever they had in the first place. If they would have been safely elevating their oxygen levels and not putting more toxic inflammatory things into their system and given them quality antioxidants like the Z-Stack, Professor Zelenko, who I happen to have the privilege of meeting before he died, zinc, magnesium, vitamin C, etc., vitamin D. But he didn't have the nitric oxide part of the story. I was preaching this from the beginning of the pandemic. We needed nitric oxide, and I have dozens and dozens and dozens, and now thousands of people who breezed through most of the COVID problems because they were getting adequate nutrition from antioxidants and nitric oxide.
Okay. I want to cover one last point here with you on you are making some what will we call it? Building bridges with some evangelicals with Cardio Miracle. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's been very exciting, Greg. You know, I may have mentioned before that I had a chance to speak at an evangelical church in Yuba City, California, last year at this time. Greatest people in the world. Just, I mean, as I've so admired your outreach and what you've been doing. These are great human beings, and I'll tell you what, they've shown a lot of courage. I spoke in the church with a guy who took on the state of California, refused to shut down. I spoke in the church of another one in Southern California, refused to shut down. And then I've recently had the chance to meet with and visit with Pastor Ben Graham, who is a grand nephew of Billy Graham. And Pastor Graham is like yourself. He's had some heart issues. He's quite young. He's early 50s. But he's now taking Cardio Miracle. He's seen unbelievable results. He's seen remarkable results. He's a very health conscious. He's really more of a global type of ministry as opposed to having a giant mega church, but really a political savvy guy. He's very involved with patriots. He's very involved with the Black Robes Regiment, which is the constituting of the people of the pastors of America who once upon a time were the ones who helped lead the Revolutionary War outreach, if people know their history. And so I've actually, I'm coming to final terms with Pastor Graham to work with us in helping me put together a Judeo-Christian network of pastors, clergymen, and church people. And, you know, I know that our church is a little more complex on, you know, having, you know, pastors and bishops doing their own thing. But the reality is I'm putting that together as a force to help fight for the principles that Ezra Taft Benson talked about, taking back our country, constitutional principles, pro-life principles, pro-family, things that would follow right along the Family Declaration and the other declaration from the First Presidency and the Quorum of the 12. But I'm taking the approach that we've got to link arms with our evangelical brothers and sisters who are passionate about saving our country. And they're doing something about it, and they're preaching about it in their churches. And I would admonish all of us to start to stiffen up our spines, read the Constitution, read the teachings of the prophet Joseph and others, and the divine nature in the Book of Mormon of this promised land that we're so fortunate to have grown up in, that is falling apart right in front of our eyes, and supporting candidates, not our or them, but candidates who believe in the Constitution, for heaven's sakes, and believe in the role of church and state. But that doesn't mean the elimination of God and state, the elimination of sovereign supreme being and state. So we're supporting, there's a great, actually, Latter-day Saint who's running for U.S. Senate in Virginia, Jonathan Emord, tremendous guy, very bright, very capable. He's running against Hillary Clinton's old running mate, who's basically agreed to 30-day after birth abortions and a million other evil and satanic things. And people like Dr. John Witcher, who's running for governor of Mississippi. And we're anxiously trying to help him because he fought against, I mean, he was threatened with his license as he was trying to save people's lives because he refused to go along with things that didn't work. And he was trying to save lives in rural hospitals. So we're finding that there's some real patriots that are running for office. And I'm going to be examining that. And not only have we spent hundreds of thousands the last couple of years in trying to support freedom fighters and patriots, people who believe in our innate ability to choose our own remedy, choose our own medicine, choose our own treatment options and our family options. I'm not against hospitals. I'm not against doctors. I'm against what it's become, and looking for and helping to support those people who stand up for those principles of free agency, which is what we fought the war in heaven. And that war is raging desperately here at this time.
Right. John, appreciate it. That's great that you're building those bridges. I try to do the same thing. Thank you for coming back on here. I just want to end by saying I hope people understand. I think most people that have watched my program for a while understand. Right now, the only sponsor that I have is Cardio Miracle, and there's a good reason for it. And that is because it works for me. That's very important for me to have the science behind it, to actually have tried it out myself, and to use it to be able to say that, hey, I'm going to put this out to everyone, because obviously I want to hold on to trust and credibility, and I feel very good about doing that. I mean, I'm talking to you, John. I feel like I need to go get another scoop of Cardio Miracle right now after talking to you. But I take it 3 times a day. That's my little self-prescription on that, and that's what works really well for me. And if you have heard us talk about this product before, give it a shot. There's a money-back guarantee with it, and just see what it can do for you, right? That's what I did. I went out and I just tried it for 90 days myself to try it out, to see what it was going to do, and ended up moving forward with it. So, John, any last words?
Let me just say to the listeners, those who are listening, and I appreciate, first of all, Greg Mattson is a great patriot, and he's a great advocate for truth as restored by the prophet Joseph. He is fighting for the help, the soul, and this common sense of helping us as members and us as Christians to try to help be aware of things. And, you know, I find it amazing. If I'd like to ask Greg has, over 100 customers who are taking Cardio Miracle. I'd like to ask those who've had the great experience on the Cardio Miracle, put it in the comments. Talk about your experience. You don't need to get into all the technical medical stuff, but if you put in the comments to let other people know, this isn't just, blueberries from Alaska. This is not a multi-level. Nothing against multi-level, but it's not a multi-level. It's direct to the public. The value is incredible. I could go through every major vitamin, mineral, nitric oxide comparison. There is nothing that compares to this. People sometimes say it's a little pricey. If on our subscription, it's $1.30 to $1.40 per serving. We've held our prices for 4 years. We have the lowest margins of any product that's out there. But give Greg your support by trying it. And if it doesn't work for you, call me personally, and I'll talk you through whatever you need to know to help you prepare your immune system and your life to be able to withstand what's going on. But also, this is Greg's work deserves to be rewarded, and he's only accepted a product that has had a compelling. He's a smart guy. He did a lot of research. He put me through a lot of paces, believe me, and I'm so happy. And that's why I said to him, try it, take your blood, go to the doctor, see what happens, and you'll see just like what the smartest, brightest alternative health practitioners in America are all endorsing and taking Cardio Miracle for their immune system, and also to help prepare against come what may, and to help us to live in faith and hope for the future in very, very challenging times. So God bless you, Greg, and your good work, and thanks for having me back. And I hope your listeners will support you and give it a try. And again, we have plenty of money to refund your purchase if it doesn't work out. And we have fought like tigers to keep our prices low. But even if you took a serving every other day, even if you took a half a serving every 3 days, you would be far better off than 90% of the stuff that's currently in your medicine cabinet.
Appreciate your passion on this, John. Really do. Thanks for coming back on, and we're going to have you back, of course, in the future. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Greg.